Are you currently going through a difficult situation because of health problems, problems with your children, business difficulties, financial problems, or other hardships? God tells us that if you cling to Him alone with all your heart, live faithfully in your faith, and pray fervently, He will remove your difficulties and give you tremendous victory as a gift. If you remain faithful in your walk with God and overcome the trials you are facing now, tremendous blessings will be waiting for you. When Jacob was young, he deceived his older brother Esau and took away Esau's birthright and blessing. When the enraged Esau tried to kill Jacob, Jacob left his homeland and fled to Haran, where his uncle Laban lived. There, for about 20 years, Jacob worked under his uncle Laban, enduring terrible hardship and hardly getting any rest. Yet Laban did not pay him fairly and repeatedly deceived him, subjecting him to severe exploitation. Unable to endure it any longer, Jacob escaped with his wives, children, and the rest of his family, 16 people in all, along with his livestock, and began his journey back to his homeland. But on the way home, Jacob heard that his brother Esau, who had once wanted to kill him, was coming to meet him with 400 men. Jacob became overwhelmed with fear and anxiety, thinking that Esau was coming to kill him and his entire family. So, in order to avoid having everyone destroyed at once, Jacob divided his family and possessions into several groups and sent them across the Jabbok River ahead of him. Then Jacob remained behind alone and desperately prayed to God, asking Him to save his entire family from Esau. That night, an angel appeared and wrestled with Jacob until daybreak. As dawn approached, the angel, seeing that Jacob would not give up, struck Jacob's hip socket, and his hip was dislocated, causing him to limp. The angel said, "Let me go, for daybreak is coming." But Jacob held on desperately and refused to let go, saying, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Then God finally blessed Jacob and gave him a new name, Israel. The name Israel means, he has struggled with God and with men and has overcome. This was the moment when Jacob's life was completely transformed. In the past, Jacob had lived by relying on his own wisdom, schemes, and abilities. But now he had found himself in a situation that he could not solve by his own strength. His entire family could have been destroyed by the 400 men coming with Esau. Therefore, Jacob desperately clung to God and pleaded for his help. From that moment on, Jacob, who had lived by his own strength and cleverness, was transformed into Israel, a man who lived by holding on to God. Because his hip had been injured and he could no longer rely on his own physical strength, he clung to God even more firmly and desperately, and as a result, he received a great blessing. The next day, Jacob finally met the brother he had feared so greatly. But amazingly, Esau did not kill Jacob. Instead, Esau ran to him, embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, kissed him, and they wept together. Jacob did not defeat God by his own strength. Rather, because his hip had been injured, his own strength was broken. That was why he clung to God so desperately and refused to let him go. Because Jacob desperately held on to God in order to save his entire family from the danger of death, he received the blessing of becoming a new person. At the Jabbok River, Jacob was transformed from Jacob, a man who lived by his own strength, into Israel, a man who lived by trusting and depending on God. And Jacob received tremendous blessings from God. In Genesis chapter 35 verse 11, God said, "A nation and a community of nations will come from you, and kings will come from your own body." Through this promise, Jacob received the great blessing of becoming the ancestor of the 12 tribes of Israel and the forefather of the kingdom of Israel. Jacob also received the blessing of becoming an example of a man who put his faith in God into action. His son Joseph, even though he was sold as a slave into Egypt, later received the extraordinary blessing of becoming the second highest ruler of Egypt. From now on, I pray that you will no longer live by relying only on your own strength, cleverness, or human wisdom. Instead, through faithful devotion and earnest prayer, cling to God with all your heart and refuse to let Him go. May the difficulties you are facing now disappear, and may God grant you the blessing of great victory.